So, Megan, I want to ask you because we have these two individuals. 16 feels so young, and of course 17 at the time, now 18. Can you sort of break down the legality of the statute in Nevada that these two men, where it's really ironclad, if I'm not mistaken, they will be charged as adults? Could there be pushback?
Absolutely, I'm sure that there will be. In Nevada, there's a process called certification. And so when a juvenile is charged with murder, there's automatically a process that begins to formally charge them as adults. That's something that the Nevada legislature has passed. That's been a matter of public policy in place in Nevada for quite some time. And so, any legislature that puts together the criminal code that then is applied by the prosecutors are really balancing the public interest and public safety versus really how we must treat juveniles with fairness, understanding their age and really the consequences of what a criminal conviction can be.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that they will be charged as adults, but could there be special accommodations for them? What would that look like?
So it's not going to come in terms of the charges themselves. What we may see in terms of sentencing are special considerations because of their age, their upbringing, any circumstances that they've dealt with, hardships, things of that nature. The difficulty with this case that is unusual from, I don't know that there's a typical juvenile case where someone's charged with murder, but
Right.
here we've got direct evidence. Usually the investigators and the prosecutors don't have a video of the commission of the crime. That is going to change things in this particular case because we see the crime being committed, the prior acts that day, and really the callous reaction of laughing after striking someone and now we know killing them. So that is going to really be a difficult mountain to climb for the defense attorneys that will be representing or are representing these young men. And so this is not the typical case. This is highly unusual and really a difficult case to defend. But we can expect if, for example, there is a plea deal or plea agreement, or if these young men are convicted after a trial and we go to the sentencing phase, there will be evidence that will be presented to mitigate any potential sentence. And the fact that they were juveniles at the time of the commission of the alleged crime will be taken into account.
Right. And for our viewers at home, when we see that open murder and we see a number of charges, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Not only elaborate on the open murder charge, but also we are hearing, the moms are both talking to media. So does that make it complicated when we talk about the family getting involved and we are talking about juveniles?
I can only imagine what those mothers are going through, and the family of the victim. This is just a tragedy on all fronts. And as a mom of three, soon to be four, I do not envy their position. I know that they have tried their best, as every mom does. What happens here is that these are very, very serious charges, and anything that these young men say, anything potentially that their families say, can be used against them. And so what you would typically expect is the defense attorneys, the team representing these young men, are most likely advising everybody to keep communications to a minimum, so that they can do their best to mount, a competent and a strong defense for these young men, even if that just means mitigation of the charges so that they're not facing life in prison. They still may end up with that punishment. It's too early to say. And, on the media, we can look at what we have in terms of information now. Those defense attorneys, those prosecutors have a lot more information than we do at this point. And so with the murder charges, and you talked about it earlier in this segment, Elizabeth, in the commission of a crime, so stealing a vehicle and other alleged crimes that were committed by these two young men that day, killing somebody in that process elevates that to a murder charge, even if the passenger wasn't the person who struck Mr. Probst. This is a murder charge that has to be defended, and the video evidence is really going to be tough.
Yeah, and you have to think about what conversations went, how they went with the attorney, especially if the driver had said, I'm just going to get a slap on the wrist.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.